Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. Umineko when the seagulls cry. That could be an alternate title to the playthrough some people do in Metal Gear Solid 2. From midday to yesterday until this morning, this chapel was a closed room. But our parents were with us until last night. How did the culprit get into this building, and how did they lock it up again? What are you trying to pull? Again? A closed room again? Are you trying to say you unlocked it with the power of magic? Don't take me for a fool. If you're demanding that I show you how to open locks with my power, I wouldn't mind. But that wouldn't be the same as me forcing you to surrender. You keep trying to explain it all with humans. Only when I've cornered all your theories completely will I have my victory. Come now, how will you undermine my defenses? What trick could a human have used to defeat them, Just like the closed rooms last time, not enough information. It's impossible to reason like this. Any excuse can be made, any trick could work. There's no way to reason it out. Ha! That again? There's not enough information, so you'll wait and see. Your information is uncertain, so it's impossible to use your reasoning. Ha! This is always the excuse you humans use to let yourselves stop thinking. Who do you think you are, lowly human? Are you saying you can't even think unless you're like Laplace's demon, you incompetent fool? Besides, you make it seem like a lack of information works against you. But it's the other way around, you see. The more information you're given, the more it will make you suffer. It's only increased strength of the compressor that's squeezing you. Oh, in that case, let me say this. It's impossible to verify that this is a closed room in the first place. If we're already talking about demons, I can play that game too. It'd be possible to prove that this isn't a closed room. Just show how someone could have gone in and out and you're done. But it's impossible to prove that this is a closed room. You could never deny the endless set of possible methods for getting in. In other words, this is one of those devil's proofs. This concept of a closed room is actually something that can never be proved. So first you stop thinking with a lack of information excuse, and now this. Very well. If that is your move, then I will accept it. Continue. First off, it looks like you're trying to claim that the chapel is a closed room. Just a short while ago, I spent some time looking around in there and I couldn't find any way in or out except the door. But that just means I couldn't find one. It doesn't prove it was a closed room. If there's a hidden door or something that I wasn't able to find, your premise would be blown away completely. In other words, whether I managed to find a hidden door or not, you'll never be able to deny that these existed some method that let you into the closed room. And this method X would be something that could be carried out without magic. After all, it's a hidden door. I'm sure that in this chapel there's some hidden door that's impossible to find. It was built by a very rich person. That's why there's no reason for me to reason it out, and magic is still impossible. Oh, so you'll use that logic. How naive. As an expected move, let me make my move in response. These closed rooms used in detective novels made by mere humans always seem utterly ridiculous to me. Why? Because they're used the wrong way. When a closed room appears in a detective novel, do you really think it's a closed room? You don't, do you? What trick did they use to make this look like a closed room? That's what you think. In other words, there hasn't been a completely closed room in any of the closed room murders that humans have built over the last century. Oh? Better not say that unless you want to face the wrath of the mystery fans. Christie's probably grinding her teeth in her grave. Huh. But I am different. I have given birth to a true closed room, and I can demonstrate it. Why? Because I am a witch. For the devil's proof, you only had to bring someone, a demon, to prove that they exist, correct? Well, I conveniently happen to be a witch, meaning that demons are my good friends, and I can bring you as many of them as you like. Sounds great. Dad and the rest used a hidden door to enter chapel, or were carried in through it. How do you plan to beat that move? With this. Regardless of whether they were alive or dead, the 6 definitely entered through the door. Huh? Dumbass. The door was locked, so how'd they do it? I opened it with magic and invited them inside. That can't be true. Since I can't accept magic, there's no way I'll accept that. You're lying. That door can't be opened with some trick. Can be opened with some trick. Or maybe there's a hidden door, but I won't accept any other way. Perpetual check. That's what we call an endless repetition of moves in chess. It's the same endless repetition as a discussion that won't advance because both sides deny the basis of each other's claims, like our game. Yeah, I mean, it's the concept of a good faith argument. One, sometimes you have to accept that you can't, achieve the goal you want in an argument, and that perhaps neither person can. But the concept of good faith argument is that both people are trying to understand the other person's perspective, and they are at least willing to change their own perspectives. Now, it doesn't mean they're abandoning their own principles. In fact, they can still stay very rigid and strict to their principles. But it does mean they at least are listening to what the other person's thinking, and they're not just insulting them or shaming them or trying to just basically contradict everything they say. You're trying to actually talk to them in a way in which you maintain your dignity and respect their dignity. You're trying to be open to the idea of honestly trying to understand what they think and their point of view. And while you're trying to get them to see things from your point of view, and while you would like them to agree with your point of view, you are willing to at least discuss with them in a way that's at least giving them a chance for you to see things from their point of view. Now, at the end of the day, the discussion doesn't require either person to submit to the other. It's not about submission, it's about two people just trying to understand each other. That being said, there's many times in which things aren't a discussion. An argument sometimes would be the people are being way too confrontational about it, too aggressive about it. They're being disrespectful, possibly even just name-calling the other person, yelling, even being violent, or just shouting the other person down. And basically just refusing to actually be open-minded to the other person or allow them to speak their mind. And just... because like I said, you can have a discussion with someone else and be absolutely certain that you are correct and that they are absolutely wrong, but you should at least still try to understand why. Now, that being said, you shouldn't let someone use your values against you, because then they'll use your values to attack you, but then when they have the upper hand, well, they won't exactly be as benevolent. Like there's a saying, it's like, well, your values are of good morals, so I'll use your values so that when you have the upper hand, I can't do anything to you, and you can't do anything to me. But when I have the power, well, we'll just do things by a corrupt sort of view. That way I can actually use things against you. Heck, a lot of times people wind up accusing you of things as a sort of, projection. Whether it be people accusing other people that they are going to do some horrible thing, but it's like, yeah, that's just because that's the way you view the world. Or it's like the idea a lot of times there's people that cheat on people who will accuse the other person of cheating. And it's like, huh. Heck, I've been in that perspective quite a bit. To where it's like, situation, not instead the word perspective. I don't know. What's the correct word in that situation? But the main point being is like, there's, like, it was definitely weird though. Because like I said, every person I've ever been with has cheated on me, but I've been accused, like they would be like, wonder I'm cheating on them. It's like, when? How? What the? It's like, I don't know. It's weird. But you guys get what I mean. The point here is, you should have a good faith argument. And I've said before, it's good to have a healthy amount of skepticism, but it's also you have to be able to have an open mind and the ability to have faith. Like, yes, many things can and are explained with science and humans. That being said, supernatural does exist. But it doesn't mean you should just accept everything with blind faith either. And you should definitely have critical thinking when it comes to everything. But at the same time, like I said, you can't trust anything unless you're able to question everything. In order to have faith, you have to be able to have doubt in everything, to question every premise you've ever held. Now, it doesn't mean you abandon your principles. It does mean that you do a lot of self-reflection, looking at your principles and looking at the way the world is and the way you think and the way you see things. What I'm coming from here is this. Yes, definitely if there's like something happens in real life and there's a closed room situation, my first guess isn't going to be supernatural. My first guess is that, this is explained with some sort of science. Maybe there's a hidden door, someone can pick a lock, they have a duplicate key. I mean, especially if we're dealing with extremely rich people. I mean, heck, let's take magic out of the equation and she's just a woman who has a shit ton of fucking gold. Well, why can't she then just have her own, personal locksmith and carpenter? It's not even an issue of picking the lock. You could have had someone just remove the entire lock out of the door and then put it back in afterward. It's the same thing. At that point, it's like, you know what? We can just take the old door out and put a whole new door in and just do it in a way where you can't tell the difference. I mean, is it something I could do? No, I don't have that skill. But then again, I've seen people do cake decorating contests on TV to where they do all sorts of crazy shit with a cake to where the cake looks like something that is not a cake. And you wouldn't be able to tell. Then again, heck, nowadays with the whole Sora 2 AI stuff, and you're able to make AI videos where it's moving videos that are made extremely quickly, which are just indistinguishable from reality, provided that the prompt isn't, ludicrous. Obviously, if you see a video of SpongeBob getting arrested by the cops, I'm pretty sure that's not real. But at the end of the day, you can make it of anyone or anything, make them do anything, and it's an actual video. You can't tell the difference. I mean, it's not like the old AI stuff, oh, that person got 6 fingers. Then again, there are some people that actually do have 6 fingers. So, but the main point is this. You can have moving video, not just realistic pictures, but you can have real video, video that looks really real. And you have people talking and it sounds like a real person. It sounds like the actual person it's modeled after, and you can't tell the difference. And you can make it do or say anything. So it's just, heck, eventually we're going to have holograms. Heck, you ever see the Hatsune Miku concerts on TV? But imagine you have actual holograms and 3D holograms. Heck, imagine if there's 3 holograms that could actually be felt. Let alone imagine they have the blurring the line of actual sentient AI at some point. Or robots, seeing the new advances in robot. And you look at the robots that get made right now, you're like, well, those aren't really that advanced yet. Not yet, but it keeps not only improving, but improving at a exponential rate. So it keeps accelerating. It not only is it's not improving linearly. It's not a linear way. It's not just a steady slope. It's curving up. So, and even then, I think the more dangerous thing, other than AI being intelligent, is the fact that a lot of humans are becoming dependent on it. And either people are dependent on it, they stop thinking, or they just, brain rot is becoming more and more true every day. So, it's just, then again, I've met plenty of people who don't even play any video games at all, don't watch TV, and even their reasoning is their ability to think is just completely gone. Like, there's people that are just, every time I meet them, they just are more out of their mind. Now, I'll be honest, I think we all have some issues. Like, I think my short-term memory and my ability to focus is getting worse over time. I don't know. Other than that, as far as depression, I could probably just treat that by taking extra naps. Maybe eat some McDonald's and hug a pillow, I guess. And make sure to drink plenty of water. Okay, we're getting distracted. Main point is this. It's good to have discussions like this, but you have to have skepticism and faith. You have to be able to have an open mind, but you obviously shouldn't have ludicrous ideas. Like if someone comes up and you says the Earth's flat, well, you're like, obviously that's dumb. But at the same time, you'll at least listen to them as far as explain what their reasoning is of it, and actually, try to treat them with respect. You're not going to like just yell at them and call them an idiot or something. You're going to listen to what their reasoning is. Even though I am kind of using an extreme example here. But the main point is you're at least listening to the person to see, okay, why do you think this way? Now that being said, you don't have to convince them that they're wrong. The idea is that you're just having a conversation. After all, if it really matters to them about them knowing whether or not it's one way or another, they'll keep looking at it into themselves. And eventually they'll just come across the truth of that. So at the end of the day, you don't need to prove them wrong or prove yourself right. Heck, you don't even need to discuss it. You can meet someone that thinks the Earth's flat and you'd be like, that's fine. I don't agree with that. I think that's completely wrong, and it's an idea that seems completely ludicrous to me. But I really don't feel like having a discussion about why the Earth isn't flat from my perspective. Like, I'm pretty sure the Earth isn't flat, but I don't really feel like discussing it because I'm just not interested. So how about we just talk about anime instead, and I'll just accept that you think the Earth is flat and I think it's a ball, and we'll decide that we'll table that issue for another time because I just don't really care that much, and I'd rather talk about anime titties, And that's the other thing. You should be able to just accept someone else's point of view, and you don't even need to have a discussion of it necessarily, unless it's something important that, it's like, oh, what do you mean the Earth not being flat is not important? It's not like it's a pressing issue. Like, let's be clear, if that other person thinks the Earth's flat, it's not like it's going to affect your life. Now, that being said, if you're discussing with a person, obviously you're like, And like I said, if you're going to talk to that person, it's eventually going to come up from time to time. You'll discuss it eventually. But at the end of the day is this, you don't need any rush. Why be impatient? At the end of the day, it's simply a matter of this. That person thinks that the Earth's flat. You disagree very strongly. And you're open to the idea of listening to them, discuss why they think the Earth is flat. But you really don't feel like it at all right now. And you feel completely bored of the topic. And you're like, yeah, but I don't give a shit. But look, that anime girl, the jiggle physics on her boobs, it's awesome. And then you guys can talk about boobies. Obviously, this is a terrible analogy, but I hope it gets the point across. The main point here is that if you presented me with a closed room situation, yeah, it would not be my first thought, witches and magic. I would consider it basically an impossibility. Now, if someone brought it up to me and said, hey, I think a witch or magic was used here, I'd be like, well, I consider that very unlikely. You may have information that I have not encountered yet. So, share your reasoning why. And you're like, well, it must have been a witch. I'm like, okay. All you've conveyed to me is that you believe very strongly in your premise. You haven't convinced me. You haven't reasoned into me that, why, it's logical that a witch or magic did this. You haven't shown me any evidence or given me any information about this circumstance. The only thing that you've given me information on is that you feel very strongly about your position in this discussion. That you feel very strongly that a witch and magic was responsible. So all you've done is the only new information you've given me is the strength of your conviction that you believe that is that. Now, that being said, there are certain situations, like if we were trying to have a discussion in front of an actual courtroom, well, it does kind of remind me of Gulliver's Travels, where the man had a reason to a courtroom about things he had encountered on his travels that were unusual, and people were just trying to claim he was out of his mind. The main point being here is this. If presented with a closed room like this, I would not even think that it was magic. However, someone came up to me and said, hey, I think it was magic. Here's this person that has magical powers, and they'll give you a demonstration of them doing magic. Well, I would certainly give okay, I don't accept it 100%, but I accept that the possibility that this person legitimately has magic is possible. Then again, I'm someone who believes that, the supernatural exists. In fact, I would say so strongly that I believe that I would say I know that the supernatural exists. Whether it be God, angels, demons, ghosts, spirits, witches, magic, all of that. Heck, do aliens exist? I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty sure something. But, I don't know, could aliens exist? Probably. If they do, it just means God made them too. The end. That being said, heck, I'd be fine if aliens were to land. I imagine some other people would probably freak out. That, honestly, I think my biggest fear of peaceful, in the situation that if there were peaceful aliens landing, my biggest fear would actually just be everyone else panicking and losing their fucking shit. Now, obviously, I'd have an issue if aliens land. They want to conquer the planet or some shit. That's bad. But in general, if all of a sudden aliens land and they're like, hey, there's 5 races of aliens and there's some sort of galactic council bullshit, like fucking Mass Effect the video game, sure, whatever, don't care. How does it affect me? As long as you're not coming here to conquer us or enslave us or kill us all, and you're not going to undermine the authority or power of America, and you're not going to cause conflicts on the planet or start causing major problems or doing anything malevolent, that's mostly fine. Heck, when it comes to God and Jesus, I wouldn't it's not required. The aliens wouldn't have to believe in Jesus. They just can't, force everyone else not to. They can say, hey, we don't agree with, we don't believe in the gods that you believe in. These people believe in that and that and that and that. And they may even have their own religious beliefs. As long as they don't force us to believe whatever they believe. The aliens don't have to believe in Jesus. But they can't tell me I'm not allowed to believe in Jesus. But yeah, in general, I'd be whatever. Then again, maybe that's just because I'm an otaku. Maybe I'm just hey, I don't really care. I'll just accept this, which is odd. I don't really accept certain changes in my personal life, but I'd be more accepting of just major changes on a global scale of just, there's suddenly, intelligent life in the universe that is out there and stuff. Heck, there can be multiple species of aliens. There could be a bunch of aliens out there in outer space and aliens that have been on the Earth the whole time. Who knows? But at the end of the day is this. As an otaku, I can just sort of accept unusual situations because I've seen many of them in various animes. However, obviously, many of those situations, like the Final Fantasy games, the worlds in there and stuff are very beautiful, and people got powers and stuff. But also, like, there's like, I don't know, giant monsters. It's fun to play the Fallout video games, but you know, it would really suck to actually be exposed to radiation or fight giant roaches and wasps. Just saying, that would not be very fun at all. Then again, what if aliens landed and they all look like anime girls? Like, how would you guys feel about that? Like, aliens land, and we just have like a press conferences like, aliens have landed in the White House. They're shaking hands with President Trump as... Heck, at that point, it's like, what's happening? It's like, well, in 2028, J.D. Vance becomes the new president of the United States, and then Trump becomes elected to the Earth ambassador to space. It's like we have Trump going to the Citadel for Mass Effect. Just imagining that fucking speech. Heck, if aliens exist and they're as widespread as humans are, would we then have aliens like on a spaceship just like watching like Asmongold streams? I don't know. Again, we're getting distracted. Main point being is this. Good faith arguments. You don't have to convince the other person a thing. You don't have to be a fight about it. It's just about having a polite discussion with somebody. And then the day is this. Not only do you have to not convince them anything, you don't have to even care. Like, if you're having a discussion with somebody, like if it's about this, is it a closed room? Is it not? It's perfectly possible both people, like, one person's like, hey, it's a closed room and solved with, you know, lock picking and stuff. The other person's like, no, it was magic. And in the end, we can just decide, okay, we both feel that way about it. I don't care anymore. Let's talk about something else. The end. Because it really don't fucking matter. Though I would say this, it's kind of an interesting thing, because you ever see those, I don't know if it's really a common thing anymore, but like you'd have those Las Vegas shows or the Penn and Teller guy reacting to magicians doing things, and they try to like figure out like how they're doing the trick. And obviously, I don't think these people are doing actual magic, but they are doing things that are extraordinarily impressive and things that I don't understand and cannot explain how they're doing it. Now, that being said, regardless if they are doing magic with actual supernatural powers or if they are doing things through human ingenuity, both things are very impressive. That being said, yes, there's a lot of people out there that have very impressive, air quotes, magic tricks. Whether it be sleight of hand or just secret compartments and stuff like that, that's extraordinarily impressive. And I hold that the majority, especially things like Las Vegas shows, are things like that. They're just tricks. That being said, I also believe in the existence of actual magic. But it's not exactly very common. But I would say even in a world of, even if magic were extremely common, you would still have some magicians doing, you know, not magic. But either way, it's impressive, and either way, it's very intelligent, and could be useful, and definitely shows an ability to think very creatively. Now, that being said, Beatrice has created a problem here. And that is, she's created a scenario where she has undermined the whole concept of an open, good faith argument. Because at the end of the day, she's made it impossible for people to be open-minded or to have good faith argument. Because one, she's very rude and very mean. She's a very mean person. Like every time, like she's like, oh, I'm a witch. Like, no, you're a bitch. You're a bitch, Beatrice. You are, I mean, aside from the outright, you know, murder and stuff you're doing, let's be clear. You're really mean to a lot of people. The way you talk to people. You're just really not nice. Like, I really don't have an issue with her having a magic. My issue is that she's just really not nice to people and that she's using the magic to hurt people. It's kind of like, I'm pro Second Amendment. I support guns and gun rights. But I think guns should predominantly be used for self-defense. Like, if somebody goes out and shoots people with a gun, that's really horrible. Now, it doesn't mean you should suddenly ban guns and make it where people, innocent people can no longer defend themselves. But at the same time, the problem was the person who was out of their mind who chose to use the gun to hurt innocent people. The gun is simply a tool. Like, if you have someone who accidentally burns down a house while cooking, do you ban fire? Well, I'm sorry, no one can cook anymore. It's too dangerous. Oh no, there's car accidents. We have to ban all cars. Like, yes, when it comes to cars, there's tons of people that get in accidents all the time. And there's people that even use this stuff recklessly or under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or actually use them as murder weapons. At the end of the day, all these things are just simply tools. That being said, the problem is people that misuse them. Heck, people have been murdering each other since the dawn of time. I mean, heck, the Bible starts with Cain killing Abel with a rock. So at the end of the day, the only thing is just humans. There's going to be conflicts. The guns, I'd say, at the end of the day, one big thing about it is they're a good equalizer. Because you could have an elderly man in a wheelchair suddenly able to fend off 10 able-bodied, athletic, soldiers who have, like, clubs and axes. It allows people that are normally much weaker than others the ability to actually protect themselves, whether they're being assaulted in public or their homes are being broken into. Because otherwise, if they don't have the gun, like in a society where no one has guns and guns just don't exist, that doesn't remove violence. It just makes it to where now the people who have numbers or the people who are bigger and stronger have monopoly on violence. At the end of the day, what guns just did is they just made it more possible for weaker people to stand up to the strong and for small groups to be able to stand up to larger groups. Now, at the end of the day, my thoughts on guns is that obviously people, if you were like ever in a mental asylum or, you've been murdering people before, probably you shouldn't have a gun. Just saying, anyone that has a gun should be responsible with it. They should be trained on how to use it, and they shouldn't use it carelessly. Heck, like if you have a concealed carry, it's not an excuse to be an asshole or anything. Like, you have a gun, it doesn't mean you have to use it to, get your way, or you can be more belligerent because you're like, well, I'll be rude to people, and if anyone calls me out on being an asshole, well, I'll just shoot them. No, it's not a reason to instigate violence. A person should always behave as if they don't have a gun or anything. That being said, a gun should always be used for self-defense or defense of others. It should never be used to be instigating situations. The goal should always be to treat other people with respect and to de-escalate. Anyway, again, I'm getting distracted. The main point being is this. Magic is fine. I accept the existence of magic. I accept the existence of witches. Now, if someone just walks up to me and says, I'm a witch or I have magic, well, I probably won't argue with them just because I can't say I care that much. But if we have a discussion, I'll be like, well, obviously I'd want some evidence to prove this, but at the end of the day, I can't say I care that much. But the biggest thing is this. She's destroyed any concept of open-mindedness that you can have. She's destroyed any good faith. Because at the end of the day is this. One, part of both of that is you have to be a little bit, respectful of other people, and not threatening them. Obviously, she is being very rude, she's threatening people, she's murdering people, and she's putting people into a hyper-emotional state. So that kind of destroys the whole concept of a proper good faith argument. More importantly is this, the biggest issue is this. Her premise for winning is the other person accepting her as a witch, which the witch has established from the first game grants her some additional power. So it would be like if someone came at you and said, I have this gun with one bullet. No matter what you do, I can use this one bullet to do whatever I want. But if I can get you to admit this thing has, this gun can shoot things, I now have 50 more guns. At that point, you're better off just straight up telling the person, nope, it can't. Even if they shoot you, like, nope, it can't do anything. Because she's established that she has power based on other people's belief. Heck, at that point, it's a bit of a argument against, it's like a psychological torture. Like, imagine if you, like George Orwell, or even the thing with Picard and Star Trek, where you're trying to tell the person that, okay, like you show them a thing of 3 lights, and you like, hey, how many lights are there? 3. And you like punch them. It's like, no, there are 4. You have to admit there are 4, but I see 3. Nope, there are 4. At that point, it's not about the person even believing or accepting reality. It's that you're enforcing your will on the other person. So heck, even if it didn't grant Beatrice additional power, at this point she's making it in too much of an ego thing on her part, to where, even if, because she's not trying to like rationalize this stuff like, hey, I can do magic, I'll explain why and how, in a way that's polite and calm and not murdering people. But more importantly is this. She's using it as a way of getting the other person to submit. So she's turned it into a thing where if the person admits she's right, it basically comes at a humiliation and shame to the other person. So it's kind of an unfair tactic. But really the biggest reason is this. Even if you ignore all of that and you're willing to throw all the, reasoning behind all of that away, well, the thing you're left with is this. She has made it very clear, repeatedly, over and over and over again, that she has additional powers that allow her to basically do whatever the fuck she wants, provided everyone has faith in her. Everyone in this story has to admit that Beatrice is a witch and that she has magic powers. And in so doing, she gets more power. It's kind of like the thing of saying, like that the vampire that has to be invited in. Okay, you accept the person's a vampire and they're powerful and that they can only come in if invited. Well, I mean, yeah, they might be trying to coerce you to come in, but of course, once you invite them in your home, why do you suddenly think things are safer? Beatrice hasn't exactly proven herself to be a good person. And even if we could have some sort of issue of, okay, she has psychological changes compared to an average person due to either living 1,000 years has caused her to become a bit jaded to the point that she like had a mental breakdown like the fucking Joker. So we're like having the fucking Dark Knight Rises, like Heath Ledger fucking discussion here. Or maybe whether it's whatever causes her to, like, even if it's a non-magical thing keeping her alive. Like, here's the thing. Aside from the fact that she's 1,000 years old and how that might affect brain chemistry, here's another thing. Let's say hypothetically you can use magic. Are you channeling power from an outside source, or you actually got magic? Either way, here's a question. Does that affect your brain chemistry? For example, let's say all of a sudden, everyone out there, you can use magic, actual magic, but doing so has the same effect on your brain chemistry as a narcotic. So let's say you have the power to use healing. You can use super healing, like Wolverine, but it makes you drunk. Or let's say you can shoot fireballs, but it has the same effect as, like, okay, you can shoot fireballs, but it also has the effect of like cocaine. You can control the weather, but also now your body's acting like you've taken heroin. Obviously, very extreme examples here, but the point is this. What if you had the power to have magic powers, but it came at the cost of, one, causing a chemical reaction in your brain that would perhaps change your personality and change your mood, change your reasoning, could change your personality, and markedly for the worse. So what if the psychotic, sadistic bitch that Beatrice is, what if that's largely not just like, oh, she's had a terrible upbringing and she went through all these horrible PTSD situations and she was a slave being tortured 1,000 years ago somewhere in England or some shit. Going beyond that, or even just saying, hey, maybe 1,000 years of life, even under happy circumstances, might be more than most human minds can handle. Ignoring all that, let's say this. She has magic. Regardless of where that magic source of power is or what the magic is, does the magic, and obviously another thing is this, you have magic, people could say, oh, power corrupts. Maybe it doesn't affect her brain, and just the fact of having this power, it's like the whole light Yagami Death Note argument, that the idea of having the Death Note or the idea of killing people or having power, corrupts the person and changes them on a fundamental level. Obviously, all these things could still be true, and if anything, I would say they all are still contributing factors. But I would say the biggest thing is this. Does magic have an effect on the human brain? Like, if you are a person who has magical powers, does using those magical powers affect your own brain chemistry in some way? And two, does the effect on the brain chemistry have permanent damage? Does it change your personality? Does it change your mood? Does it change your personality? Does it become addictive? And by that I mean, like, if you're someone with magic, can you be addicted to the magic? Like, where your brain needs it, or else you start, like, can you start going to withdrawals? Like, you're working at fast food place and you're like, hey, I need to go take my, instead of a smoke break, I need to go out in the field behind the restaurant and just shoot off a few fireballs. Or else, I'm going to keep shaking and being twitchy. Or like, hey, you seem really agitated today. It's like, yeah, I haven't shot lightning bolts in 3 days. It's like, you come up to someone like, hey, man, I'm sorry I yelled at you. I was just really, really just cranky that day. I just hadn't fired off a magic missile in a week, and I just couldn't handle it no more. And I was just, I don't know. You guys get what I mean. The idea is this. Like, what if you had a power, like, you could shoot, like, what if you could, like, summon, but it's like you now have the power to summon, like in Final Fantasy, but it also gives you diarrhea. Or, okay, you can use Kaioken, but it also gives you Alzheimer's disease. Like, obviously we're getting a little off track here, but I'm just saying this. What if you had magic, but it had an effect on your brain like a narcotic drug? What if it was addictive? What if you stopped using magic, you had really bad withdrawals? What if using magic caused brain damage? What if you could get cancer? What if you get like magic AIDS? You know? What if it's like, okay guys, I have this magical power. It gives me strength, extra endurance. I heal a little better. I have better reflexes. And everyone's like, is that just crystal meth? Like, but you guys get what I mean, right? Like, what if you had magic, but it had like the same negative effects as, say, like smoking meth? But it also had like even the positive effects, like whatever those are, like the good feelings that people do drugs to begin with for. Like, what if you had the power to shoot fireballs? Like, okay, you're going to just use it like combat-wise, like in emergency situations. Okay, fine. It's like you're out in public and you're like, hey, I'm going to demonstrate using a fireball. But then once you use it, it makes you feel like you just got done smoking weed with Snoop Dogg. So the thing is this, what if magic was affecting your brain chemistry? What if it could cause permanent damage? What if it affected like your dopamine and serotonin for like a long term? Or like what if you gained the power to shoot fireballs, but every time you used it, it made you just have a little bit more ADHD or a little bit more autism? Or what if you had fireballs and they made you happy, but every time you didn't use them, you had clinical depression? And I don't mean just you were sad. I mean your brain actually stopped really producing the chemicals to keep you not being depressed. Anyway, the main point is here. Beatrice has completely screwed the concept of a good faith argument because she is one, not only is it a premise that them admitting that she is a witch and has magic and accepting it gives her power, but she's also made it clear to everyone that, one, it's also a thing that she's made in a way of being humiliating to people. So even on just an issue like I said, the George Orwell thing, the Picard thing, Star Trek, at that point, regardless of whichever way, is being used as sort of as a way to make you like submit and be lesser. So it's like a bullying tactic. But ignoring all that is the biggest thing is this. She's made it very clear to everyone else that if they admit that she is a witch and has magic, she has more power and they all of a sudden no longer have a means of defending themselves. Basically, even if Battler has no logical reason to deny her as being a witch or her having magic, even if he has no way to logically argue against her, it's been made very clear that in some way he is being protected because he's refusing to admit it. And that her power is at least halved, if not less. Yes, she still has an advantage over him. But at the end of the day is this. Aside from her being a bitch and her own ego and her treating it like a humiliation power trip, at the end of the day is this. If he admits that she is a witch and that she has magic, she becomes more powerful, and whatever hidden factor is protecting him is removed. It'd be like, say, if you're at a bank and you have like bulletproof glass, and the person comes in to rob you, and they have a gun, and that is dangerous, yes, but you're still behind the bulletproof glass. But if you admit that the person has a gun, your bulletproof glass disappears, and now they have 3 more guns. At that point, you're just going to completely deny that they have the one gun to begin with. And that at least makes your situation safer and better. It's just Beatrice has made it a clear thing that, because logically, I can say logically, yeah, she's a witch. She has magic. You know? And again, I can accept that those things exist. And in this situation, like, yeah, I'd be able to accept, okay, Beatrice is a witch, she has magic. Except for the fact that she's also made it clear that once I accept that and state that I have now put myself in additional danger and she has more power. And like I said, she has not proven herself to be a good person. So why would I think that this person who has already proven themselves to be not exactly benevolent, if all of a sudden they have more power and I have less defenses, that they won't completely abuse that power? Which means at that point, if I'm in Battler's situation, I have no choice but to outright deny her as a witch and deny she has magic at all costs, because at that point my survival depends upon it. So, I'm just saying, it does kind of destroy any reason or motivation to actually try to play fair against Beato. In most games, this would be resolved as a draw, but that would put a terrible damper on our fun. We will have no draws. You will either accept me and submit to me, or you will deny me. At least I agree with you there. We'll settle this without fail, just as you wish. Cackle, cackle. I do again have to say, out of all the characters in this game, I like Kyrie's personality the most. Then again, I also think she's very, very beautiful, and she's very intelligent, so I like those things. I think Kyrie's nice. And as much as I say I don't like Beatrice as a person, I do keep staring at her tits. So, I like that attitude. So, I had a thought. I think I'll add a new rule to this game between the two of us. A new rule. I'll bet it's something that'll give you an advantage, right? Of course not. I'll give you this thing people like you always demand. The reason you always stop thinking and then moan about it is a lack of information. And if you are then given information, you start doubting whether the information is true or not by rejecting the source. Isn't that convenient? What clever little words to hide your own incompetence. I'm offering to eliminate the convenient excuse of yours. You should thank me. You said they entered through the door, and I said that couldn't happen. Are you calling that an evasive answer? Exactly. So from now on, when I speak the truth, I will use red. Okay, there's so many things I take issue with that. One, is this another Jesus reference? Because you were saying earlier about how there was a guy 2,000 years ago, like, found the element for everything was love. I'm like, you're really not a nice person, so like, why are you speaking? But it's also like, the red text, Bible, King James Version. Let's make the sound like 40 fucking times. Main point being is this. Why should I trust you? Also, fourth wall. The whole point is, you and Battler having a conversation. The text is, something for me, the reader. It's not something that... What's that word? Diegenic? Like, diegenic music. And by that I mean, if you have diegenic music or non-diegenic music, does the music actually physically exist in that world? For example, if you go to Star Wars 3 and, Anakin's sitting there with Palpatine watching a fucking opera, well, that music's diegenic because it actually exists in that world. But if you're watching, like, fucking, Halloween with Michael Myers, the Halloween theme song is non-diegetic. It doesn't physically exist in the movie. It's not like fucking Michael Myers is just like driving by in a car with a keyboard. It's not like he's like hiding behind a bush, a machete in one hand and a fucking flute in his other hand playing his theme song. It's not like he's just walking up to people to stab them, humming his theme song. Like, what's happening? You walk out there and you see Michael Myers with an electric guitar. Do 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 do. Like, everyone's like, you did not do the pitches for that at all correctly. Whatever, don't care. You guys get what I mean. You don't have, like, when Anakin was fighting Obi-Wan, you did not have the fucking Duel of Fates music actually physically existing in the universe. It wasn't like, Anakin just looking over at the fucking, orchestra playing next to the fucking lava. Like, Anakin's laying there on the side of the fucking lava river, missing his arms and legs, third-degree burns everywhere, and there's just like a person with a harp and some electric guitars there. You just see Metallica come in. It's like, no. Like in this situation, are the words physically in the air next to her as she speaks? Like, from now on, when I speak the truth, I will use red. Or do you mean like you're going to change your dress to be red, or you're going to change something else going to be red? We're like, well, this person's got more. From his perspective, what do you mean you use red? There aren't words just floating in midair in front of him. Like, and even then, even if we accept that, why would we believe you on that? It'd be like if someone was a renowned liar and they're like, hey, from now on, if I hold my hand up and I cross my fingers in front of you, it means I'm telling the truth. Why would I believe you? Also, the fact that you even need to say that then makes the question, well, how often were you not speaking? One, it means, okay, you've literally admitted that you are a very untrustworthy source in the beginning, where there was no reason I should trust anything you say. But even then, even if I were to explicitly trust that when you are using red, that you actually are telling the truth, well, does that imply anytime you aren't using red, it is much more likely to be, false? Heck, it'd be like a game of Minesweeper. If you know there's a set number of mines, and there's at least some spaces that you're like, oh, we're going to use red here to show you that there's absolutely no mines. Well, then that means all the remaining spaces have a greater possibility, a greater probability of having mines. Which means now everything that you say, like even if we trust implicitly that everything you say in red is true, this now means everything you say that is not in red has a higher probability of not being true. And even then, that's even assuming we trust this. But again, how does this function from Battler's perspective? Well, what is this? Keep explaining. No matter what magical move I use, you can always keep running away by chanting, lack of information, and by rejecting the source. Even though I would still win in the end that way, it would be extremely boring. Because of that, I'd be happy to give you the information and sources you so desire. However, you'll probably doubt each word I say. That isn't bad in itself. One is, again, it's good to have a healthy amount of skepticism. Especially if the source, you, has proven to be untrustworthy and malevolent. The fact that you've proven yourself to be a liar, and you've proven yourself to be not very nice. So, both are things that should make me feel that it would be common sense not to implicitly trust you. Doesn't mean everything you say is a lie. After all, at the end of the day, everything you say is meant for one reason, to be self-serving to you, you bitch. So, at the end of the day is this, no matter what you say, it isn't, is it true or a lie, it's an issue. We know whatever you're saying for the sake of your own, whatever makes you look good and whatever benefits you. I also will use every possible move to make you submit. I don't dislike our posture of searching out our best moves for our own goals, but that won't make a game. So I set up this rule. Everything I speak and read is the truth. There's absolutely no need to doubt it. But here's the thing. It's not like you're bringing in like Jesus to like confirm like, yes, she swore an oath. I'll make sure that she keeps true to it. Like, it'd be like if a serial killer like promises not to kill you. Like, it's like, should Batman trust the Joker? I mean, the Joker said, like it'd be like if the Joker suddenly says, "Hey, man, Batman, I'm wearing a different color suit. Whenever I wear the different color suit, I won't do anything crazy." But why should we trust that? And it's like, Joker, I think you murdered this person. Ah, it can't be. I was wearing a red suit that day, Batman. You know I don't kill people in a red suit. Are you telling me to believe that? This is a game between you and me. In a game, the rules are sacred. Okay, here's the question. What happens if you break the rules? Who's watching you? Let's say you break the rules. How will anyone ever know? 2, would there be any punishment if you were to break the rules? Those who take that lightly are not qualified to play. Okay, I get you. I'll accept that rule. I mean, again, we don't have a choice here. We have to accept it regardless of what we believe in it or not. However, I would say this. The main thing that would make me have some faith that she would stick to this rule would be, it's no fun to play a game if somebody's cheating. Even if you're the one person cheating. Heck, even if you're able to do it in a way that the other person never finds out, wouldn't it still make it boring and make the victory shallow? And the whole point of the game is to make it entertaining. Heck, it's kind of like those people that do the gambling thing, that have an addiction to gambling. They'll make sure that they can't get out of... Like, it's one thing, there's some people that gamble specifically because they want to make money. That's one thing. It depends on what your goal is. If your goal is you want to make money, well, that's what you won't care about cheating. You just want to make money. But if you're doing it for the thrill and the addiction of it, well, then you're going to want to not cheat. You want the possibility of losing. And if you do lose, you don't want to just suddenly be saved out of it because it's that one guy at the end of the Dark Tournament in Yu Yu Hakusho. Because at that point for him, it was more so an addiction. Whereas for her, again, if she really cared about money or power or getting people to submit to her, there's plenty of other people out there that would be a much easier time than Battler. More importantly, it's an addiction. It's boredom for her. So, the main reason I would have to give faith that she would follow her rule is the understanding that if she were to break her rule, she would actually drive her own self crazy with it. Like, it would make her unhappy. So, it'd be like someone who loves to eat steak, and they look at you and say, "Hey, I promise I'm not going to put mustard all over the steak." And you're like, "Well, this person's... I don't know why I'm sitting here with this person cooking steak. Like, I know they're a liar, a horrible person, and they're a piece of shit, but I also know they really like steak, and they don't like mustard, and they would never ruin their steak." So regardless of what kind of horrible person this is, I at least know that they wouldn't ruin a good steak. Even elementary school kid can get into an endless argument and find fault with everything. Then let's start it up again, continuing where we left off. I'll say it one more time. Dad and the rest use a hidden door to enter the chapel, or were carried in through it. Then I shall repeat what I said. Regardless of whether they were alive or dead, the 6 definitely entered through the door. Is there any proof? Stop. I will supplement the rule. Okay? When I speak the truth, I will use red, and when I do, I will not bear the responsibility of establishing that claim by showing proof. Okay, isn't this... I mean, again, I can't really argue against you setting this rule, but... But it does give you a convenient excuse to not have to. They will simply be facts and the truth. My reason is simple. I carried all the crimes of magic. So for any impossible crime, all I have to do is wave a magic tap and show you how it's done. But that wouldn't make a game. It would be as barbaric as ignoring victory and defeat in chess match and punching your opponent in the face. It's like, how'd you win your game of chess? A samurai sword. Like, that's not a piece in chess. I mean, it's in the chess board. I cut through my opponent into the table. It's like, so how'd you win? How'd you win at Scrabble? Gasoline. It's like, okay, guys, we're gonna play Monopoly. What's that next to that? C4? What? Oh, well, that makes sense. Since you're a witch, there's no need for you to show evidence for what happened. Since you can do anything with magic, damn it. Talk about an unfair game. So shall we resume once more? The six definitely entered through the door. I unlocked it with magic. How will you get around the magic this closed room? The key. Genji-san and the others said there was only one key, but that's impossible to prove. The culprit secretly made a duplicate key. Only one key to the chapel exists. Okay. Did you swap the key? Like, did you wind up giving... Like, did we have multiple envelopes for Maria? Then what about this? The culprit made something other than a legitimate key and opened it. I don't know what, but maybe... Or lockpick. Did they lockpick it? I mean, like, maybe they played a bunch of Skyrim and Fallout. A tool for picking locks. What is this naive move? It is impossible to unlock the door to the chapel with anything but the chapel's key. Okay, fine, we'll accept that, but... At this point, I'm not questioning your magic. I'm questioning, how do you make an unpickable lock? Like, it's not even an issue of like, oh, you used magic or not. That's not my discussion here. My discussion is, how do you make a lock that can't be picked? Although it can be opened with the power of magic, right? Then what about this? Then again, I'll say this. If you can make a lock that could be unpickable, well then certainly you can make a lock that could have charms around it that make it where you can't use magic on it, like a magic ward. Then what about this? There's something wrong with the door itself. There was some way to pass through it even while it was locked. As to what it is, I can think of a few ways. Maybe it's like those big doors on a castle that have smaller doors in them. It's also possible they removed the hinges and removed the whole door preventing, or removed the lock and put the lock back in. Is this the best a century of human wisdom can manage? Battler, when the door to the chapel is locked, it prevents any and all methods of entry or exit. Assuming you can't use magic, right? Is it about time for checkmate? Not even close. You said the 6 people entered through a door, but you didn't say it was the front door. They might have entered through another door, a secret one. You talk too much, you incompetent fool. Okay, you're the one who made this a game about talking, so you can't say I'm talking too much in a game where you're requiring me to talk. You can't just say, I demand you to talk, and then say I talk too much. Then let me expand on my earlier move. The 6 definitely entered through this front door. That's screwed up. And again, at this point, we're also bringing up the idea of, are we arguing semantics? Like, are we arguing with like a genie that wants to like purposely take things literally at the word like a fucking monkey's paw? Because at that point, again, the person granting the wishes knows what you intend, knows what you mean, but they want to go out of their way to try to use things in a way that it's... I mean, it'd be one thing if the genie was actually legitimately trying to grant you a wish in a way that makes you happy. And again, I think all of it comes down to the personality of the person granting the wish. Like, there's a difference thing, like, if you had a genie, but, like, the genie was, like, the ghost of Charles Manson, as opposed to you have a genie that's like the ghost of Martin Luther King. I feel like one of them would be a little bit more fair. The door was locked. It was impossible to unlock without using the single key, and yet 6 people entered through it. How? With magic, you say. Damn it, damn it, damn it. My thing is this. What if the key was not initially in the envelope given to Maria? And then, after the key was used, it was put in a separate envelope that was also sealed, and then snuck in and secretly switched the letter that Maria had. Are we already seeing the limits of what humanity can manage? Then shout that you resign. When one admits defeat, its customers shout it out and knock over their own king. So do you resign? Is that really a thing in chess? I don't think I've ever heard of that before. Then announce your surrender and knock your king over by kneeling. Then you may kiss my shoes. There can be no greater joy than forcing a man like you to lick my shoes. Ew. Damn it. It's useless, useless. So I can't win against the witch? This isn't chess at all. I've just been made to take the losing side in a chess puzzle. Is quibbling about devils and getting a draw the best I can manage? That's the one thing that'll never happen. Either I will surrender or you will. There can be no other resolution. What happened to the bravery you displayed when you said this would be torture for us both? Hey, what a disappointment. What a total letdown. When you say Ushiromi a battler... Damn it. What should I do? What should I do? I can see it. I can see the place where I'll face checkmate. It's useless, useless. All my hard-fought moves have been nothing more than me desperately moving my king around, running away from check. No matter how many times I move, I can't escape from check. So even without waiting for the next several moves, I can see checkmate in my future. Damn it. After a few more moves, I can see where I'll face checkmate. Don't give up, Ushiromi a battler. If I can see myself getting closed in upon, then if I spin the chessboard around, I should be able to anticipate her next move, right? Remember what Kairi-san said. When you're thinking about something, then the closer you get to the very, very end, the easier it becomes to anticipate. Spin it around. Spin the chessboard around. What happened? You fell silent all of a sudden. Fear not. Surrender is but a momentary shame. After that, all that remains is the joy of entrusting your fate entirely in the hands of your new master. Again, I don't feel like you can be trusted with that. Come on, cry out in resignation. I can't hear you. Speak up and say it clearly. Enough babbling. You're just refusing to listen. So I'll say it once more. I won't resign. Continue. Resume the game. Ho. Very well. It is your turn, after all. I made the mistake of thinking this rule you made was your own weapon. However, I realize that it can also become a weapon for me. It all comes down to this. Please do give it a try. I've been focusing all this time on how they entered the closed room of the chapel. That approach was useless. It's useless. It's all useless. Spin the chessboard around. That's right. I was thinking about it backwards. This is how I should approach it. How was the chapel, which wasn't a closed room in the first place, made to look like a closed room? Here it comes. That thinking technique humans gave birth to over the course of a century. Give it a try. Say this in red for me. If you can't, then refuse. Here I go. Does this mean intend to reverse his defensive posture? Hey! You look really worried. Or constipated. It's one of those. You're like, oh shit. Depending on what he asks me to say. Impudence. I get that the only way to enter the chapel is through the door. and that there's only one key. But wait, the question is whether the key really was handed over to Maria yesterday before noon. My, but you're dragging this on. Do you try and get to the point? It's something like this. We've been under the impression that the key's been unusable since midday yesterday, so we've assumed that this was a closed room from midday yesterday until this morning. And I want to hear you say that this impression of ours is a solid fact. Interesting. So you turn your reasoning not to the door, but to the key. Yesterday, Maria received an envelope from you. She didn't open it, but she might have felt it and known there was a key inside. But it's not like she'd be able to confirm also that it was the key to the chapel. Here's what I'm getting at. The thing inside the envelope given to Maria was a fake. If you think about what you're saying, it's ridiculous. This morning, Rosa definitely took an envelope out of Maria's handbag. Yes, you're right. Which means the envelope was swapped at some point. And from that, obtained the genuine key to the chapel. Yes, you are saying that the key, that Rosa obtained a key from the envelope that she took out of Maria's handbag this morning. Are they the same envelope? It wasn't a fake as you suggest. Heh, I know that much. I'll continue. In that case, when Maria first received the envelope, the thing inside it was definitely the same key to the chapel, right? Ho? See what I'm getting at? Midday yesterday, you gave Maria an envelope with a key inside, and you told her that she mustn't open it. Maria probably realized it had a key inside. Later on, Aunt Rosa used the thing inside the envelope to open the door to the chapel, and that's why we assumed it was the key to the chapel all along. This is the suspicious part. So is this what you're trying to say? That's when I entrusted Maria with the key, that the key was fake, and then by the time Rosa obtained it, it had been switched with the real thing. Yeah, that's it. What's wrong, Beatrice-sama? You've been looking a bit pale for a while now, huh? Those close to me sometimes call me Beato. Beato. Beato will do. It's your turn, Beato. The turn of the Golden Witch. Let's see you dodge this. Very well. The key to the chapel truly was the object inside the envelope I gave Maria. I'll move forward. Can you repeat it in red? That envelope was completely under Maria's supervision until Aunt Rosa opened it. If you can't say it, then you say you refuse. Check. I refuse. I've spun it all around with just one move. Now it's your king on the run, Beato. Humph, I have a reason for refusing. It regards the definition of the phrase under her supervision. In its purest meaning, Maria would need to have her eyes on it around the clock for that to be true. But Maria didn't go that far. It may have been completely under her supervision when she took it out of her handbag, but after she put it inside, it disappeared from her field of vision. In that sense, the phrase under her supervision would be inappropriate, so I couldn't use the red, nothing more. Now you're the one arguing semantics. I'll bet that move hurt. And your face tells me you've guessed the next one. Sorry. I'm kind to women. I don't hurt them. And I never betray a woman's expectations. It's time for you to repeat it in red if you think you can. No one was able to touch Maria's handbag until Aunt Rosa took out the envelope. I will also refuse this one. I won't explain the reason. That's wrong. It's not that you won't explain it. It's that you can't explain it. That move gives us checkmate, doesn't it? You can't do it, then I'll explain. The key to the chapel really was in the envelope you handed to Maria. Then Maria put it in her handbag, and the next morning Aunt Rosa took it out and opened the lock. However, Maria didn't have the handbag under complete supervision. There's no need for magic. It's a closed room trick that's possible for a human. The human culprit handed Maria the key, and by making Aunt Rosa use it the next morning, they created the illusion that there was a closed room during that time. You can't deny the possibility that during that time, the culprit took the key from Maria's handbag, used it, and returned it by morning. Can you say it in red? Repeat it. If you say it, then if you can say it, then say it. It's check again. Not yet. I removed the check. The envelope with the key in it should have been sealed with wax. Doesn't mean you have more than one envelope with wax. After all, what? Do you only have a couple envelopes? I'm pretty sure you have an entire box of these fucking envelopes. You have entire crates of this wax. And there's no reason, I have this. I know we said we're not mean to women, Battler. But you know what? I'm pretty sure if we lift Beato's skirt, we're just gonna see fucking envelopes fall out. Like just fucking envelopes everywhere. Rosa took it from an unopened envelope. Really? Then try saying it. Repeat it. The envelope handed over midday yesterday and the one Aunt Rosa opened are the same thing. That I can repeat. The envelope I handed over to Maria and the one Rosa opened are the same thing. Ha. Oh, it's useless. It's all useless. That doesn't even matter anymore. I expected more from you. I figured that if you were a bit better at reading between the lines, you'd resign right there. So I'm disappointed. You've betrayed my expectations. What? Who cares if the envelopes were the same? Envelopes can be sealed with wax over and over. The key is inside. That is what's important. This time it's all over, Golden Witch. It's a real checkmate. I'll say it one more time. Repeat it. If you can say it, try saying it. The key to the chapel inside the envelope Maria received wasn't used even once until Aunt Rosa opened the envelope. How could I? Against a lowly human. I'll keep on saying it, Beatrice. Repeat it. The key to the chapel inside the envelope Maria received wasn't used even once until Aunt Rosa opened the envelope. Ooh. If you're gonna yell, then say you resign. This settles it. This is the truth. Before Aunt Rosa obtained Maria's key this morning, at one point it would pass to someone else's hands. Then they used the key, resealed it, returned to Maria's handbag, making it look like it hadn't been used. This is a trick with a cheap loophole. The assumption that the key wasn't used because the sealing wax wasn't open. Checkmate. There's no magic, and it's nothing more than a trick that's possible for humans. In that case, who do you say stole the key? Well, I mean, you are a physical person in this game at the moment. Or you could be, again, as I was saying in episode 1, possessing Rosa. Heck, we could even say it was the same in game 1, because we don't know if it has to be the same exact way each game, even though it's different circumstances. Like in the other one, the face for the person that was Rosa was disfigured. So it's always possible that Rosa faked her death and was being possessed by you in episode 1. And that maybe that caused such a psychological issue for Natsui at the end of episode 1 when she realized it was Rosa, that she was then, well, made to either shoot herself or be possessed as well. I don't know. But at this point, we can either say Rosa being possessed by you took the key, because after all, Rosa was also in the room. You might say, oh, but she was watching it. At this point, it's like fucking Fight Club. Like, maybe that explains why Rosa thought the trick looked realistic that you did. Because, well, she was actually the one doing the trick in front of... After all, how many times has Maria said to Rosa that the bad witch was controlling her? At that point, it's either magical things influencing both of them, or maybe it's a genetic issue on Rosa's part that, of course, went down to... But yeah. It could be that you have to, like, it's like a Fight Club, like Tyler Durden. You know, Rosa was actually Beatrice at that point, doing the trick, fixing the candy, and she was just like dissociating, watching herself in her own head. Try answering. This time, you try repeating it. That's right, I'm making you repeat things all the time. I probably have to answer even once in a while, but I refuse. My condition for victory is denying a witch's existence. I'll prove that this impossible crime done with your magic was actually possible by human hands. And technically, this is a win by multiple ways. One, this is denying the existence of magic. Basically saying that, hey, you don't actually have magic. So, on the one hand, like there's a side A and a side B. Side A is denying the existence of the magic point blank. But side B is, okay, we agree that magic exists, but we have the caveat that it's not special. That it's like, okay, yes, you have magic, but I can also do the same thing without magic. It's like someone's like, oh, I can shoot a fireball. And you're like, no, you can't. That's side A. Like, no, you can't shoot a fireball. But then you like prove them, like, you know, side B is that the person can actually prove to you they shoot an actual fireball. And like, see, I can shoot a fireball. And then you pull out like a Zippo lighter and you know, flip your thumb and a flame comes up. And like, I can also make fire. You're not special. You flipped your hand, made a fireball. I flipped my thumb and I made a little lighter turn on. It's like, oh, you shoot a lightning bolt with your hands? Well, I have a shotgun. It's like, so that is either one, you're outright denying the existence of magic, or you're showing a way in which you don't need magic in order to do a thing. It'd be kind of like, again, back with the lock thing. Imagine you're in front of a lock and a person's magic and they can like, see? And they move their fingers in midair and the lock unlocks itself. But in the other regard, it's like, you then tell them, okay, fine, close the door, relock it. And you take out like a bobby pin and you unlock it yourself by picking the lock. I've smashed your closed room with something possible even for humans. However, I won't specifically investigate who the culprit is, because I believe in humans. Because I definitely won't accept that there's a person among us who would steal the key from Maria, use it, and do something so horrible. Ha ha ha. I give up. I resign. Just once, for this skirmish, I'll give up. But you really are naive, Battler. Parting remarks are a loser's privilege. Say as many as you like. Since you continue to deny my existence, you will eventually be cornered. After all, since you deny me, you will have to suspect those relatives that you can't stop loving. And again, that's a problem. But we have to figure out who's in the game a clue, the bad person. Also, people do seem to be carrying over some subconscious memories, and some circumstances are changing. But again, if you have a game of Clue, but like, has anyone ever played the board game Clue? They even had a movie made of it once that had Tim Curry in it. That being said, if you had a game of Clue, but it was always required that the same person was responsible, and you had 8 games in a row, and the first 7 games, no one could figure out who did it, but you were always able to figure out what with and where, and every time you were able to eliminate a few suspects permanently as people to choose, eventually by trial and error, process of elimination, you'd figure it out. And yes, we don't want to suspect any of the relatives at the mansion, but, and of course, if we're going by this logic, then it means we have to, if we decide Aunt Rosa or somebody in this episode has to be the one responsible, then we have to look at how would it have been possible for them to do it in the other episodes. I mean, in this one, it would be certainly most possible for Rosa to have done it, but I would say in episode 1, I would say it'd be very likely that the body for Rosa was fake. and swapped around with someone else. And given the fact that you are a physical person this time in the game, Beatrice, well, who says you couldn't have done it? Or again, you're an extraordinarily rich person, and if we take you physically doing things out of the equation, or magic out of the equation, you could have brought other people with you. I mean, it is a big island. Imagine you walk to the other part why is there a water park over here? It's here's Beatrice giant tidal wave pool. In the last moment, when you have to suspect one who has beloved you, then you will surely accept my existence. Cackle, true, you have defeated me in this skirmish alone. However, that naive logic will definitely destroy you. You can't win against me after all, Ushiromiya Battler. Rosa and the rest returned from the chapel to the parlor in the mansion. So many things had happened since early in the morning. Of course, they were very high-strung. Battler and George, who had cried, raged, and let their emotions explode after seeing their parents' tragic bodies, returned to the parlor and sat in the sofas, dazed, as though everything up until then had been a lie. Well, I mean, yeah, I would say they probably had a lot of adrenaline flowing, but at this point, it'd be kind of like a sugar crash. It's adrenaline is very important. Technically, your body has to have a tiny bit at all times in order to really function. And I mean, technically, even if you're in a state of adrenal fatigue, your body still has some. But to a degree, your body has to have a little bit of adrenaline pumping at all times. And of course, in states of hyperarousal, whether it be from danger or excitement, your body's pumping a lot more. And of course, in life and death situations, your body pumps even more than that. However, one, even in those situations, there's a limit to how much adrenaline your body can pump, otherwise you'll just give yourself a heart attack. Two, is that usually your body reserves usually the adrenaline like that because one, yes, you can be much stronger, but you're more likely to tear your muscles or break your own bones doing things. Your body can't handle, that much of a high amount. But even then, even the moderately decent doses of adrenaline your body pumps in times of stress, your body can't do that all the time. It can't handle it. Same way, if you're more stressed, your body pumps a lot of cortisol, which your body needs cortisol to function. Your things like blood sugar and even the way your brain chemistry works, you need cortisol. You need it. You'll die without it. But even just being low on cortisol can have negative health effects. But obviously having too much or having a prolonged high level is bad. Plus, there's multiple problems that occur. When it comes to cortisol, or adrenal fatigue, one, if you have a large dose of adrenaline in your body for a long period of time, that puts a lot of stress on your organs. Your heart's having to beat harder, your lungs are having to breathe harder, your kidneys, your liver having to function and everything. One, it puts a lot of stress on them, so it can tax your body and put you in being in a high stress situation all the time. It puts too much of a stress on your brain and on your body. But also, your body has to make the adrenaline and cortisol. So, so eventually your body will, be a bit worn down on even making it. So, it's when it comes to adrenaline pumping through your body. One, having it constantly go through your body is going to put stress on your organs. But also, the parts of your body like your kidneys and stuff, that are responsible for either filtering or making things, because your adrenals are situated technically on your kidneys. Your body can only produce so much so quickly. Take dopamine in your brain. One, if you had a constant high amount of dopamine inside your brain chemistry would have a little bit of change from it. Plus, eventually, some of the neurotransmitters would change in response to it to make it more tolerant. So eventually, even with the same amount of dopamine, you would feel less. But not only is there an issue of your brain being less sensitive to it, to where the same amount won't trigger the same thing, your body has to physically make the dopamine. Yes, you can ingest or smoke or whatever things to increase dopamine. And of course, there's certain actions you can take. I mean, heck, whether it be playing video games or actually even looking at a TV screen or eating sugary foods or having sex. All of these things cause your body to secrete dopamine, but they don't make you make it. Doing something like cocaine or something doesn't make dopamine. It makes you release it. It makes you secrete it. Now, obviously, then your brain reacts to that. And, of course, one could say that there would be physiological responses in your body if you're doing cocaine. That could be maybe cocaine is putting some stress on your heart and your organs. Maybe the increased amount of dopamine is having its own stressing. Who knows? But your body has to make the dopamine. All the cocaine does is tell your body to release the cocaine and release the dopamine it has. It doesn't make the dopamine. Now, granted, there are ways to improve the dopamine production in your body, such as getting good nutrition, eating certain types of foods, eating like fish and chocolate, getting plenty of sleep, reducing stress. But even then, there's a limitation to how much dopamine the brain can produce. And I can't say I'm an expert at understanding how much and how, but here's the thing. Your body has to make the things it uses. Yes, there's a lot of things you get in food, but a lot of that's just building blocks to make everything in your body. So, like when it comes to dopamine, one, there's the effect that the chemical of the cocaine would have on your body itself, but also the effect that the massive amount of dopamine has on your body. But even then, is this. Not only would your body build a tolerance where the same amount of dopamine doesn't have the same effect, but your body has to physically make the dopamine. The cocaine does not create the dopamine. It's the same way there's chemicals that you can take that'll make you less tired. But a lot of times what those do is they just turn off the chemical response of adenosine in your brain. Adenosine is a chemical that tells you you're sleepy. So technically you're still sleepy. You just don't feel it anymore. So those chemicals that do that are supposed to keep you awake, they keep you awake, but their predominant function, now of course some things can give you more energy, but at the end of the day they have to function by activating your ATP. These are chemicals that tell your muscles, to react to certain chemical reactions. At the end of the day, one, you have to have a source for these things, and two, your body has limitations. I mean, heck, the biggest thing that makes you stronger when it comes to physical workouts is healing. And heck, that's probably my biggest flaw when it comes to physical workouts, is that I can't seem to get any stronger just because, I have a hard time recovering from workouts. I get injured very easily. I get very overly sore, and then I can't seem to heal. So ideally, if you're someone who could heal quite a bit, then you should be able to actually build muscle a lot better. But yeah. It's just, there's a limitation to how much your body can produce. But like I was saying, what was it? But yeah, like when it comes right down to it is this. You can take a chemical that turns off the chemicals in your brain that make you feel tired. But you're still tired. Your body's still exhausted. Like you need rest in order to heal, in order for your body to not be overly taxed. The reason your body produces those chemicals to tell you you're tired is a safety feature. Same way you feel pain. It's your body's way of trying to coerce you into not hurting yourself. It's like you can, like if you were to get shot, but then you took morphine, yes, you've turned off the signals telling you that you're in pain, but you didn't magically heal the fucking gunshot wound. You're still bleeding. You didn't have like a fucking potion from Final Fantasy. It's not like we got fucking Phoenix Downs and shit in this place. Same way if you take like a bunch of Red Bulls and shit. It doesn't mean, your body has more strength than it should. It just means you're able to ignore your limits more, and maybe your heart will beat a little bit faster. But in the end, you're eventually going to crash. Eventually, your body needs rest. And yes, drinking a whole bunch of Red Bull lets you push harder for longer. But at the end of the day, you're eventually going to run out of energy. And eventually, no matter how much Red Bull you ever take, eventually you're going to need to sleep. And even then, when you do sleep, your body is going to have to make up for that sleep debt because you overexerted yourself. At that point, the only thing the Red Bull accomplished was allowing you to overexert yourself more than what would normally have been possible for you. But at the end of the day, you still need your normal rest as well as the additional rest to make up for that overexertion. Plus, as your body then adapts to chemicals that you're taking to turn off the adenosine, your body would then adapt to want to be less sensitive to the chemicals to turn off the adenosine and to be more sensitive to the adenosine, and your body would start producing more adenosine. It's kind of like, say, if you're trying to heat up a pot of water and you find that the amount of heat setting that you're using isn't heating up the water because somebody else keeps putting in ice cubes. Well, you either find a way to make the ice cubes, smaller and less frequent, or you turn up the heat. Other than that, the other thing is, other than it messing with your sensitivity to, like, say, Red Bull and when it comes to your adenosine levels, the other thing is that constantly putting yourself in a state of less rest, more stress, and not sleeping as much as you should, and overexerting yourself also tends to cause additional health complications. Okay, I forget why we're talking about any of this. I don't remember anything. So, let's continue the story. Only Maria was completely unchanged and looked just like normal. I already saved, right? Yeah. Bye.